What's going on, guys? It's Screech here, and welcome to a deck profile on my channel. It's a Saturday once again, and we are going to talk about a deck that I like and play. Today's deck is going to actually be Marincess. This is a very competitive build of Marincess, probably the most competitive build of Marincess I have ever made. The deck is very, very good, very, very versatile, and very, very cheap, which is why I've opted to do this deck profile today. We are slowly getting back into actually playing at locals once again. People are looking to pick up decks and pretty much are still on a tight budget, as they may have not gotten back to work themselves, or they may still be on furlough or whatever, and they might have sold the collection to whatever, pay bills. They thought they were going to quit the game and they've decided not. So this deck, in my opinion, is an ideal deck to pick up. There is not a single card in this deck that is worth over a tenner, providing you get the correct rarities. Like, if you're going to buy the secret rares of these, if you're going to buy the ultimate rare hand traps and the starlights and everything else, then yeah, it's going to be more than a tenner. But if you want to get this deck on the cheap, you can do so. The only card in the extra deck that is actually worth anything is Toad. You are going to be running Link 4s, but you will not be running Access Code, as pretty much your entire extra deck is water, so it makes no sense really to run Access Code. We'll be going into the deck profile in a lot more in-depth than we usually do, solely because usually I talk about the matchups that I played at locals, and we haven't actually played this deck at locals this week, solely because we had a casual week, and I decided my casual deck of choice this week was Symphonic Warriors. And I don't think you want to see a Symphonic Warrior deck profile, so we've busted out the Marincess deck, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail. Hopefully get you convinced that it is a really good deck. We'll explain the card-by-card choice, give the deck a good old shuffle, explain what each card does and the standard combos and how they work, and then we will do a test hand after the good old shuffle. Starting with the main card of the deck, Marincess Blue Tang. When it's normal or special summoned, you get to send a Marincess card directly from your deck to the grave, and then if it's sent to the graveyard, for the material of a Water Link monster, doesn't even have to be a Marincess, just a Water Link monster, you get to activate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add any Marincess card of the 3 from your grave back to your hand, and then shuffle the rest back. I can't remember what card does that. I think it's a Solomon Great card that does it. But yeah, that's basically the main thing. The ideal thing that you're going to be sending off this is actually going to be your Marincess Seahorse. Again, you have to max out on all 3 copies of this, because if you don't see this, you want to see this. Seahorse is a level 3 water monster, once again, that can special summon itself from your hand to a Marincess Link zone. Basically, a zone that a Marincess Link monster points to. It also has another effect that during the turn, except it was sent there, you can banish it from your grave to spec a water monster from your hand to a Marincess Link zone. It's an okay effect. It's an additional extender in that sense, but honestly, I don't remember ever using that effect at all. Ideally, these are the main cards you want to see to an extent. This is going to dump this, and then you get to get this back and start your combos. But we are actually running 3 copies of Marincess Pascalis. Marincess Pascalis is essentially Goblinberg. When it's normal or special summoned, you get to spec a Marincess monster from your hand in defense position, except a copy of itself. During the main phase as well, you can, except the turn this was sent, you can banish the card from your grave and target a Marincess spell or trap in your grave and add it back to your hand. So this can recycle the field spell. It can recycle your wave, which is your trap, that makes pretty much everything at towers, as well as being an infinite impermanence. And the last card we are running is 1 Marincess Mandrain. You should run 2. We are running something in replacement of the second, but in many, many testings, you really should be running a second one of this. If you control 2 or more Marincess monsters while the card is in your hand or your graveyard, target a Water Link monster you control, and you get to special summon it to its zone and banish it when it leaves the field. The artwork on these cards, I also want to point out, is fantastic. I love the artwork on all of these. They are very, very nice, and they do all come in very nice rarities, except this Mandrain. Moving on, we are playing 3 copies of Swap Frog. Now, here is where we need to stress this. This is not here just to make Toad. This is the best, or one of the best, water extenders in the game. And ideally, you want to see a Marincess card and a water extender in order to do any of the full extensive combos through Crystal Heart and so on and so forth. So just because you've seen a Swap Frog doesn't mean you're going to make a Toad. It is here for several other reasons. It's actually that irrelevant to make Toad that the only other frog technically we're playing is one Ronin Tonin. We're not playing any copies of Dupe Frog. This Swap Frog is here just as a water extender. That doesn't mean you can't make Toad, because we are playing Toad, of course. But, you know, it's here mostly as a water extender. Also, did you know Swap Frog can send this? Yeah, it can send this. This is Testudo Irat Numen. It's a level 1 Aqua monster, and neither player can special summon monsters with 1800 or more attack. Most of your links are actually under 1800. You usually use this to, you sit on it for a while, and then in the next turn you link it off for something like Crystal Heart. Now moving on to some more water extenders. Crusadia Arborea. This is the card you really should cut for the second Mandrain. It does the exact same thing, and Mandrain is the Marincess name. But I do like the fact that you can do Mandrain and this in the same turn. So there's arguments for both. It's also a tuner if you want to start going down some Halka Fibrax shenanigans. It's still a water, it's a warrior. You can argue it's searchable off rotor, although we're not playing it. There's several reasons to play this card, but I just personally think that you shouldn't play this, and you should play the Mandarin. The second Mandarin, of course. A Sea Archiver, this card is phenomenal. In case you haven't realised by now, everything special summons to a Zona Link Monster points to, whether it's from the grave, whether it's from your hand, whether it's from the extra. You're going to spec to a Zona Link Monster points to, which means you get to trigger Sea Archiver if a monster, of course, is normal or special summoned to a Zona Link Monster points to, except during the damage step. Yeah, spec this card from your grave. Just simple as that, and then banish it when it leaves the field. It's another extender. It's also water. It's also searchable because it's Cyburst. You gotta play this card. There's no reason to not play any of these cards in the deck. Maybe bar like Testudo, the Crusadia. Some of the other cards we're gonna get up to in the next 5 cards. They're your versatile. Everything else I'm pretty sure is set in stone. You play this number, and I don't think there's any arguments for them. We are playing 3 copies of Silent Angler. It's a water extender, by the way. If you control a water monster, special summon it from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. But Screech, you only special summon from your hand, so you just do this last. I don't know how more idiot-proof I can make it. You do this last. You don't go, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my combo by special summoning this. Oh no, I can't do my Swap Frog now. My Sea Angel, my Seahorse. I can't do anything. This card sucks. No, you just do this last. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it's a free special summon. It's a level 4. It's a water. I don't know what more I can say. It's a water, and it's level 4. It's going to make Bahamut Shark. It's going to help you extend that final last bit into any of your big links. You know, you do with it as you will. And then, last but not least, for, non-hand traps, we are actually maining 2 copies of the Water Barrier statue. You see it in your opening hand, you can easily get it into the grave, there's several ways. You do a lot of discarding in this deck, so just get it in the grave. You can revive it back off any of the links if you feel it's relevant. If not, it makes for easy side outs. If your hand's bad, you just normal summon it and your opponent still struggles to out this. Because there's not a lot of water decks out there. I mean, people were pleading for Samorg and the Wind Barrier statue to be banned at the very beginning because people couldn't out the Wind Barrier statue. It's the exact same premise here with the Water Barrier statue. Next, we're moving on to hand traps. I'm maining 3 copies of Lancia, 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, and 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. These are the 7 hand traps of my choice. You can play any combination of hand traps. Not going to talk in depth about hand traps. I personally think Lancia is the best hand trap in the game, ever printed, every format this thing is relevant at some point or another. Every deck I make, the first 3 to 6 cards in my side or main deck are 3 Lanciers and then 3 forms of spell and trap removal or spell and trap interaction, like reboot and stuff. Most of the stuff is Cyber, so I think it's pretty obvious that you're going to run 3 copies of Cynet Mining. Again, don't think this card's that expensive. I'm pretty sure the Super and Ultra prints are like £5 to £7. Everything I've mentioned right now, you can pick up for under £10. I think, honestly, the most expensive card in this deck is Ash. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it is Ash. It's Ash or this. Yeah, it searches most of the things. There's not really much to talk about. Battle Ocean, this is your field spell. It's fully searchable, so you really should only run 1. There's a lot of arguments for running 2, because if this thing gets Cosmic Cycloned, it is a little bit rough, and it does hinder your play slightly. Basically, all Marincess monsters you control get a whopping 200 attack. Also, 600 attack for every Marincess card that's equipped to it. Monsters you control that are in the extra monster summon that were link summoned using Marincess Crystal Heart, which is a link 2 that we will be playing, by the way, basically are unaffected by all card effects. All of your opponent's card. It becomes a towers. And that's the idea of the deck, basically, is you can make this big God Almighty towers. And then, of course, when you link summon a Marincess monster, except during the damage step, equip up to 3 link monsters with different names, and then, of course, that monster is going to gain 600 for each one. So if you equip 3, it's going to gain a whopping 2,000 attack, which is pretty big. I mean, your Marincess links are already like 2 to 3k anyway, so they're getting pretty big. If you do that with the Crystal Heart, you're going to have like a 5k towers under like a Toad and a Barry statue. It's really good. Foolish Burial is here because, a lot of stuff resolved in the grave. 1 for 1 can get you a few cards. It usually gets you your Marincess Mandarin, but this can get Testudo, by the way. Testudo is also level 1. 1 part of Avarice, it's just here for recycling. This deck has a really good recycle gain anyway. All of the links, pretty much all of the links above link 2 get you a Marincess card from your grave back to your hand in somewhat way, shape, or form. And of course, Pascalis is going to recycle your spells and traps. This is mostly here to recycle your links. 1 Pot of Desires, which I know sounds weird, but hear me out. This is here just very similar to how Salamangreat used to play it, where they would do their standard combo, and then they play this towards the end just to dig for more resources. It's the exact same as this. Once you've got your Battle Ocean live and everything else, that's around the time you're going to play Desires. So you don't really want to see this in your opening hand. It's not the end of the world if you see it in your opening hand. You just play it pretty much at the end of the turn to dig for your hand traps, or help dig for the last card in the deck, which is 3 Marincess Wave. If you control a Marincess Link monster, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of the turn. Okay, it's an Imperm. Is it any better than Imperm? Well, yes, because if you control a Link 2 or higher, all the Marincess cards you currently control are unaffected by your opponent's card effect until the end of the turn. So everything becomes a towers. And if you control a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So you don't even need to wait, setting it for the turn. It's just whoosh, it's gone. Moving on to the links, we'll talk about the relevant, really good links. The really good ones you play 2 of, and the ones that are average or situational you only play 1 of, pretty much. Blue Slug is one of your main boys. Main girls, should I say. When it is a link summon, you can target Marincess monster in your grave, add it back to your hand. And then after that, it restricts you into only summoning waters for the rest of the turn. But, I mean, all of the Marincess pretty much do that. To an enemy, this was the only Marincess link that I would recommend potentially playing 3 of. You don't really need any more than 2, though, personally. But if you're going to make an argument for any of these, probably this one. It requires only 2 water monsters, so you don't actually need a Marincess at all to make this. And you can target a water monster with 1500 or less attack in your grave, special summon it to a zone this card points to, usually facing down. Specs pretty much all your Marincesses. It specs a Swap Frog back, Silent Angler. It can spec your Barrier Statues, the Testudo. Yeah, pretty much anything. Monster Reborn every turn. And of course, if it is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Marincess card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. This also includes if it's sent when it's equipped. So if you link summon this for, its effect, revive something, link it off for the link 3, you get recycle, and then of course the field spell will activate and equip this and maybe some other things as material. And then, oh no, your opponent's outed your big towers in whatever way they've managed to do that. This gets sent to the grave and you get its effect again. It doesn't have to be sent from the monster zone or anything, it's just when it is sent to the grave. And the last sort of relevant one we're playing is Double Marbled Rock. In my opinion, this is a better boss monster than both of the Link 4s, but you can argue for either of the Link 4s. You can target a Marincess card in your grave, accept a copy of yourself, add it back to your hand, so every turn it recycles something, which, helps you, basically allows you discards for things like 1-for-1, Signet Mining, Swap Frog, etc., etc. And of course, once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send a Marincess monster from your hand to the grave, and for that battle, the monsters can't be destroyed by battle and you take no damage. For me, it's not a relevant effect. You're here just mostly because it's recyclable. 2500 means it's going to become 4500 when it gets equipped with the 3 things, and it becomes a towers alone. You do with it as you will. Now for the less relevant ones, you have to play them, but you don't have to play multiples of them. Angel here points across, searches your field spell. Crystal Heart, this is the thing you have to make in order to make everything unaffected for the turn. And then we're opting to run Wonder Heart. You can run the other Link 4, I think it's Bubble Reef, I think it's called. But I personally prefer this. So once per turn during damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can spec a Marincess card that it points to. Its effects aren't negated or anything, and then on the end phase, you basically re-equip it. That's essentially what you do. You take no battle damage from the battle, the first battle. And the special summon monster is, like I said, equipped during the end phase. And if it's sent from the grave, if it's sent to the grave, in its owner's possession is destroyed by a battle or card effect. Or, sorry, your opponent's card, it just says a battle or card effect. You get to spec a Link 3 or lower, so it kind of floats into one of the lower ones anyway. But the fact that this can spec your equipped monsters just allows you to do stuff on your following turns. So, again, going back to an enemy, you're in this situation here. You attack with this, you use its effect. The enemy becomes unequipped. You get to attack with this. It's 2200 because of the field spell, maybe. Then you go main phase 2. You can use the effect of this to revive something. And then on the end phase, it re-equips itself anyway. So, the fact it doesn't negate the effects or anything is pretty good. Next, we're moving on to the main boy, the best card in the game, the absolute phenomenal boy, Toads! I love this card. This artwork and this pun. People hate it. I absolutely love it. And it looked good in Secret Rare. Couldn't find my second Secret Rare, so we picked up a Mago Rare one. But yeah, I just love this card so much. For those of you who don't know what it does, during the standby, you can detach an XYZ and spec a frog from your deck. You get to spec a Swap Frog, send whatever, a Ronin at that point, a Testude, whatever. And then once per turn, during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap or monster effect, send an Aqua type monster from your hand or face up on the field to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, you can set the card to your side of the field. So, your opponent Regekis you just steal it, your opponent Evenleash you steal it, your opponent normal summons Alistair, you steal it. There's so much you can do, and of course it's Aqua, so it can tribute itself. Also, when it is sent to the grave, you can target a water monster in your grave, add it back to your hand. It can recycle itself, by the way. So, just a handy thing to know. Bahamut Shark, another way of summoning Toad. Abyss Dweller, water. One of the best rank 4s in the game, and it's also water. These are self-explanatory, I don't really need to explain it. And then you kind of have 2 zones free. I am a firm believer of every deck combo, control, playing Extrav, Desires, whatever. It needs a Nightmare Phoenix. This, in my opinion, is the it's the staple of all decks, and you don't want to be caught short in a situation where you can make a Nightmare Phoenix and you don't. It's the best Nightmare, maybe bar Goblin, but Goblin's banned in the game. It's super easy to make. It's generic, and the discard in this deck isn't really relevant because it doesn't feel like a cost because you recycle that much stuff. And then I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I'm pretty sure I did, that you don't run access because everything is light, bar this Nightmare Phoenix. But I still wanted to run a Link 4 that can end the game. So I opted for Boral Sword, but you can run anything here. You can run Appaloosa if you don't want to end the game, you want to control a little bit more. You can run... my headset's just broke as well. Great. You can run Firewall Dragon, everything is Cyburst. You can run so many things. But for me, Boral Sword is the best one. So why I quickly shuffle this deck, there is no side deck for this because, like I said, it wasn't played at any sort of event. But we will talk about a few cards that I have already at the side, which are here just as side deck cards anyway. White Howling is phenomenal in this deck. If you control a water monster, you can target a spell, your opponent controls, banish it, and for the rest of the turn, they can't activate any spells. Oh, it's so good. It's a one-sided, one-turn Imperial Order. Pretty much for the low cost of you need a water monster in a deck that runs nothing but water monsters. It's so good. And then the only other card realistically I would talk about is Twin Twisters. I would run this over Cosmic in this deck. I'm a firm believer of Cosmic is a million times better. But the fact that the discard is so free in this deck makes it so much better. I'm just quickly power shuffling this deck off the camera on the side. We'll give it a couple cuts on camera, do a little test hand, and just see where it goes, and then call it a day. Like I said, this deck is super, 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 super cheap, super fun, and super competitive. Any deck that can make, a towers with a toad and a floodgate of some form pretty consistently, in my opinion, is pretty good. So that's the deck, hopefully shuffled well, and I don't open, triple swap frog here because it was in the order. Give the deck a couple more shuffles. Obviously, this test hand will be uninterrupted because we're not playing against anyone. Give the deck a couple of cuts. We'll go for 3 of those cuts. One last shuffle and a cut in half. 5 cards, as you are usually a going first deck. Let's see what we open. So we have opened Ash, Wave, Blue Tang, and Swap Frog. So opening double Ash is a little bit annoying, but we have opened a Blue Tang here, which means we can do a significant amount of things. We can do the standard Blue Tang combo. The rest of this hand pretty much becomes irrelevant. We are going to have many interactions with Wave and Ash anyway. Blue Tang effect will allow you to send a Seahorse directly to the grave. You're going to link this off into the grave here. For not your Sea Angel. Where's Blue Slug? There it is. For your Blue Slug. And you now have Chain Links, which is very important. Blue Tang is going to activate as Chain Link... Blue Slug will activate as Chain Link 1, and Blue Tang will activate as Chain Link 2. Blue Tang will mill 3. Hopefully we mill a Marincess. We milled another Blue Tang, but I believe it cannot add a copy of itself. Let's just check. When this card is sent to the grave, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add one of excavated Marincess card to your hand and shuffle that. Oh no, it can add a copy itself. Oh, that's a bonus. I thought it couldn't. So yeah, we'll add the Blue Tang, and then of course the Blue Slug will revolve. Let's just adjust this camera a little bit. There we go. The Blue Slug will resolve, allowing you to add the Blue Tang back to your hand. The Soul Horse back to your hand. The Blue Tang is in the grave. So now pretty much these are the only live cards we have, as well as some Ashes and some Waves in the corner. So several things you can do here. We'll go Seahorse, link the Seahorse off into the Sea Angel. Sea Angel is going to allow you to add the field spell to your hand. Let's get this field spell in the hand. It's going to be the next card I draw, isn't it? Yep. Which is, of course, the Battle Ocean. So now you've got the Battle Ocean. This is where your extender comes in, and you really need it. And what do you know? We have an extender. The Swap Frog. So we'll discard this Blue Tang to special summon this Swap Frog. We won't activate this Battle Ocean yet. Swap Frog effect can dump anything. It's your choice what you want to go here. You know, the matchups are all dependent. You can send Testudo, you can send Ronin Tonin, however you prefer. In this situation, the Testudo isn't a bad shout. To be fair, you know what? We'll just dump the Testudo just because we can. From here, you know, you can pretty much make the Crystal Heart. Yep, one Crystal Heart. Activate the Battle Ocean and sorry, you can make the Crystal Heart and then activate the Battle Ocean and instantly go into the Marbled Rock. You could also go through the deck with something like an enemy, but you know, that's just a pretty much instant of it. You get to equip these three, and this thing, of course, will become unaffected. That's the main principle of the deck anyway. We'll do one more test hand. For that, you're going to have a Towers with, of course, Marincess Wave and double Ash, because, you know, the deck clearly wasn't shuffled too well, because we opened double Ash. But, you know, these decks, this hand happen, so we'll give the deck one last power shuffle. And hopefully we open a much better hand this time. 5-card hand again. Although I complain about that hand, it was still the absolute nuts. Signet Mining, Swap Frog, Silent Angler, and Marincess Seahorse. Sorry. You can do everything with this card as well, but honestly, I'm probably gonna discard it off the Signet Mining, just because Blue Tang is a lot better. So we'll go for Blue Tang, we'll normal the Blue Tang effect. We already have the Seahorse Engrave, so we will actually send the Mandarin instead. Give the deck a quick shuffle. This hand is actually really good. Once again, we will link this off for Blue Slug, Chainlink 1 Blue Slug, Chainlink 2 Blue Tang. Excavate the top three. Is that a wave? That is a wave. Wave to hand, because it's wave. Ideally, you want a mill wave off of this. And then Blue Slug will add back Seahorse. Now your hand is looking super clean. Spec the Seahorse. Get rid of this Seahorse to make the link 1, where are you? Over here you are. Sea Angel. Sea Angel effect is going to search you the field spell again. Add the field spell to your hand. We are absolutely perfectly fine. We're going to go for the much bigger extended combo here. We're going to actually discard the Silent Angler for the Swap Frog. And we're going to use Swap Frog effect to send... you can send Ronin or Testudo again. I'm going to send Testudo this time. I'm going to put them under a little bit of a lock. Because why the hell not? So here you are going to pretty much do the exact combo you did before. This time you kind of like... You're going to do it a little bit weird. So you're going to make... with these two, you're going to make Crystal Heart. You're going to activate the Battle Ocean that you have. And then this time, with these two, instead of making a Marbled Rock, I'm just going to make an anemone. Battle Ocean will equip the 3, like normal. And then an enemy effect is going to revive the Testudo. So you haven't got the big 4500, but you do still have the big towers. It's going to be on 4000. Your opponent can't spec anything with 1800 or more. You could have gone down a completely different route, as you had the 1-for-1 for the Testudo anyway. You also have the Marincess Wave, which is going to make this unaffected. I mean, it already is anyway. On top of course, well, being a negate, and you can activate it from your hand. Fortunately, your opponent does know you have it. Not to mention that, Mandarin is still engraved as an extender as well. There's so many additional lines of play from this, but they were just two really fast, quick test hands at 2:05 in the morning. So surely I know that first combo could have done a lot more than it did, but it gives you the basic principle of the deck. No excuses other than it's 2:05 in the morning and I'm now going to bed. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you enjoy these sort of lengthier deck profiles where I talk a little bit more about the cards as opposed to just going, I played 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this, and I went 3-0 at locals and won, then, let me guys know, because although these do take a little bit longer to make, I mean, I've been waffling for half an hour, I do at the end of the day just want to help you understand the deck a little bit more. I try to teach my girlfriend every deck that I play and every deck that she plays. Any deck that she likes the look of, I try to learn in order to teach her. So, it's just a case of explaining the cards a little bit more, because I know I learn decks more by somebody reading the card effects and how the interactions work than, physically reading it. Like me listening to someone and going, right, this is the test hand, you're going to ideally, at this hand, you're going to probably end on like a Bahamut swap, Bahamut Toad, maybe even double Toad off this hand, to be fair. You have the full Marincess combo off this, plus an extender. That's just something you get off experience, but reading it like physically on a card and somebody explaining it to me is totally different. That's just how I learn. I'm sure there's actually a word for it, like kinetic learners or something like that. But I'm rambling on even more now. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to bed, people. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want me to actually profile the deck I played this week, which is Symphonic Warriors, then sure, let me know and I'll do it. But I don't think anyone really wants to see a Symphonic Warrior deck profile. But it is a lot of fun. It's been your boy Screech, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace!